Throughout this mini-series, I'll show you how to create an advanced race system for your Roblox game. This system will prompt each player to join the race. The player with the most speed will win and be rewarded. This system is brilliant for any game which involves increasing player speed, such as a speed simulator. I'll be assuming you have your own speed simulator before watching this video. Check out my speed simulator series if not. If you missed the last video, please check it out or you cannot complete this video. Let's get into it. Today we'll model the race map and teleport all the players that join the race to the starting line. First, let's create a race map. I'm just going to add a new part in here and just bring it over to the side a bit. And I'll make this the size I want. What I'll do first is just design the sort of base plate and then we'll go from there. Make it fairly long and I'll make it a nice green colour. And what I'm going to do, just a bit of modelling skills now. I'm going to get back to you once I've made the briefed base plate because I don't want to spend too much time on this. There we go, so I've just made a very brief base plate here, so it's just got some walls. Basically, I've copied this over here. And it's quite short, obviously, if you're making a long race, you're going to want it to probably be a bit longer than this. But I don't want to spend too much time on it. What I'm going to do now is also make a starting line and a finish line. So just bring a part in here. And I want to go to model, and I'm going to turn move off here, make sure that's off. Just flatten it a little bit. Maybe make it a bit wide. I'm going to make it 3.5. Well, that'll be alright, just like that. And now I want it to be the length. It can go into the walls, that's fine. I just want it to be the length of this. This is going to be the starting line. So this is like a visible marker for the players, an indicator to where the race starts. And then we're going to do a finish line as well. So I'll make this a darker green. If I select this colour and just go a bit darker, like this. And now if I duplicate this, grab my move tool, and bring it over here, we'll make the finish line, which will be about here. For some reason, it's moved itself over a bit. Has it done it on this one? No. That's just because it's a bit rotated, that's all. Okay, now I'll make this a darker colour. I'll probably go for a dark grey to indicate the finish line. And you can see that I've grouped my base plate here, my little terrain, and I've made a group called terrain. This just has all the parts in it which make up the walls and the floor. What I'm going to do now is grab my start line, rename this, and I will just call it start line. And same with the finish line. If I select that, right click, rename it, and I'll call this finish line. Now we need to make some obstacles, just something that's sort of in the way so the race is a bit more interesting. So I'll do that quickly and I'll get back to you. There we go, so now you can see I've got some obstacles. They're just wedges and parts, just something to make it a bit more interesting. And what I've also done is group them as a folder named obstacles. This just allows us to still individually select them, but they are still grouped in the workspace. I'm also going to grab the start line and just duplicate it. And what I'm going to do is make the transparency, I'll keep it 0 for now, scale it, and I'm just going to make this basically an invisible wall. This will stop all the players running through before the race is started. So you want to make this much larger than the actual area of the race, just to make sure players really can't get through. And this will just stop them before the race starts. This will sort of keep them at the finish line. If we now make this invisible, and I'll rename this to, I'll just call it wall. We won't worry about the actual race system today, as in we won't worry about actually removing the wall and making the finish line work. That'll probably be in the next video, but we still want to get it set up. I'll also duplicate the finish line here, and this will become finish area, and this will just be the area the player has to touch. Because the finish line is so small, they risk, and if they're going really quick, they risk just running straight through it and a touch event not actually running. So if we make a finish area which is quite large, if the player touches anywhere within this area, which they probably will, then they'll finish the race. Now let's make this transparency 1. I'm going to turn can collide off for the finish area. Keep it on for the wall, but for the finish area, we want to turn can collide off. Now let's select the finish line, the finish area, the start line, the wall, the obstacles, and the terrain. So absolutely everything. Right click this and group it as a folder. And I'll rename this to map. Now the last thing we need to do, which I've just already done, is make some spawn parts. But I'll show you how to do it. So I've got a model here called spawn parts. So we move that to the side. Basically, what you want to do is these are the parts that the players can spawn on when they teleport to the race. Add a part in, just resize it, bring it down a bit, move it over to where you want it, make the transparency 1, anchor it, can collide off, duplicate it, and just put one wherever you want a spawn part. So these are just parts that the players will spawn at. You don't want them to all spawn at the same part, or they're just going to stack on top of each other. Just sort of jot these around, and then you can grab all of these, right click and group these as a model, which is what I've done. Let me just delete these. That's what I've done with these spawn parts here. So as you can see here, I've got 20 spawn parts, and it's all just parts, just like how I've shown you. And also drag that into our map. The last thing to do is anchor everything. So open up your obstacles folder and select all your obstacles, make sure they're anchored. Open up the spawn parts, select all the spawn parts, make sure they're anchored, and open up the terrain, select all the terrain, make sure it's anchored, and the finish area, the finish line, the start line, and the wall, make sure they're all anchored too. Now we can close up this map, go into server storage and add it to server storage. You want to add a new folder into server storage, which I've already done, just called race here. It's got nothing in it, and just drag the map into this race folder. That's because we're going to have multiple races in the future, and probably maybe 2 or 3 videos time. We're going to make 3 different race maps, and it will randomly select one. So that is sort of future-proofing for that. Now that we've created the physical race, go into the race folder that we created in our replicated storage, our race system. Add a new remote event, and we'll rename this remote event to teleport player. Now open the join button in the race GUI, and open the local script. And we just need to add a couple lines of code. So this teleport player remote event will teleport the player. We're going to teleport the player on the server, because if we do it locally, only the player is going to teleport on the machine. As far as the server's aware, the player is still on the map. It's a bit confusing to wrap your head around that one. But other players will still see them on the map, whereas they'll see themselves on the race. So we want to teleport them on the server, not the client. That's why we're using a remote event. So local replicated storage is game:get service replicated storage. Local race system is replicated storage wait for child race system. And local teleport player RE, or for remote event, is race system wait for child teleport player. So again, very similar to what we've done previously with this waiting for child race system, and then getting the remote event. This is very similar to our server script. Local player, we're going to leave that the same, and the button, the only other bit we're going to add is when we click the button, before we destroy any of the GUI, before that we'll say teleport player, fire server. Because the player is passed automatically, we don't need to put anything in these brackets here, because we are going to access the player and teleport the player, but we don't need to pass anything in, as you'll see shortly when we do the on server event, because the player is automatically passed through. Now let's close this local script, and inside the race system script, which is under server script service here, let's teleport the player to the race. So let's start with variables. So we're going to need a server storage variable, because we've got the map inside server storage. So server storage is game:get service server storage. We also need to add a new remote event. So just above this dismiss RE, I'll add a teleport player RE is race system wait for child teleport player. And we also now need to get the race folder and the race map. So race folder is server storage wait for child race, and race map is race folder wait for child map. Now just above this dismiss remote event, let's add the teleport player remote event. So teleport player re.onServer event connect function, and we take the player as a parameter, but again we're not passing the player into the call in the local script. If you remember, if I open this up, we're not passing the player in, but we're taking the player as a parameter. That is because when you go from a client to a server, the player is automatically passed through. So in here, we need to check if the player's character exists. So if player.character then, and then we need to check if their humanoid root part exists. So local HRP is player.character wait for child find first child, find first child humanoid root part. Spelled exactly like this, uppercase H, uppercase R, uppercase P. If you spell this wrong, it's not going to work, so make sure this is spelled correctly. You won't get an error either, so make sure this is spelled correctly. We can then say if HRP, which stands for humanoid root part, then, and what this has done is just 2 layers of protection, because we're going to teleport the player using their humanoid root part. So if we don't run these checks, if we don't check if the player has a character, and we don't check if the player has a humanoid root part, then we're going to get an error. And now let's get all the spawns in the map. So local spawns is map, or race map, dot spawn parts, get children. So this will get all the spawns. Now we need to choose a random spawn. So local index is math.random 1 and the number of spawns. So hashtag spawns, that just means the number of spawns. So this will choose a random number between 1 and the number of spawns. And then we can just teleport the player to whatever that random spawn is. So hrp.cframe, uppercase C, uppercase F, spell it exactly like that, equals spawns, index in square brackets, dot .cframe plus vector3 dot new 0 2 0. So this will teleport the player to the spawn pad that we randomly select and spawn them 2 studs above it. If we do zeros, if we don't add this, we might spawn inside of it in the floor and we could glitch out. So adding that extra 2 studs in the Y direction just allows them to sort of fall on top of it. Now we need to remove the player from the not decided table because they're no longer not decided. They actually have made a decision now and they've joined the game. We can say if table.find not decided, comma player, then table.remove not decided, comma table.find not decided, comma player. Now we've got this table.find not decided player twice. So let's create that variable. Local table index equals table.find not decided, comma player. And then we can just say if table index, then table.remove not decided, table index. And that is our teleport player server event. So we're selecting a random map, teleporting the player, and then removing them from the not decided table. And the table.find just finds the index of the player inside of the not decided table. If it doesn't exist, then the table index will be set to nil, and this if statement won't run. We've got to check if it exists within the table first. For whatever reason, it might not. If it does exist within the table, remove them from the table. Now in our while wait one do, before the if GUI shown, we just need to put the map into the workspace if it doesn't already exist in the workspace. If racemap.parent is the race folder, then, so if the parent of the race map, so let's have a look, so server storage, so the race map is this map here. If the parent, which is the map, is the race folder, sorry. If the parent is the race folder, then we know it's not been put into the workspace. So we can just say racemap.parent equals workspace. And this will put the map into the workspace if it hasn't already been put in the workspace. Test this out, so let's hit test and play. We only need to test with 1 player. So we'll wait 10 seconds for the prompt, and as soon as the prompt appears, the map should spawn. There we go, and it does, and if I hit join, and it teleports us over. Perfect. So it's all working perfectly fine, and that's great. So that's it for the next video. In the next video, we will make lots of progress with the actual race, making it functional. The next video will be out in 4 days after this one, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Please consider joining our Discord server. The link is in the description, where we're trying to build a community of future developers. You can ask for programming help, help others, or just chat there too. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.